Hey guys, T-Bowler. Today we're going to be looking at the Tier 3 French cruiser, the Duguay-Trouin. Here's my lemon build on the screen. It hasn't changed since the DeGrasse. I was initially planning on putting a lot of points in him, but Rue, the other cruiser commander, intrigues me quite a bit. These ships thus far through the line, obviously I'm fairly early into the line at the moment, but my general impression is they're fairly non-durable, so I think Rue as the more survivability focused commander might be the better option. He does have a very interesting base trait as well, increases HE damage, which I think HE is going to factor heavily into this line, so we'll discuss commanders more as I get deeper into it, but that's my early impression. I'm personally going to hold off pumping a lot of points into Lemon just to see if I can get Rue, because he does intrigue me quite a bit. Now the Doogie is a interesting ship. It's got 30 millimeters of armor at its heaviest point, so that's cruiser-esque level. Those are like tier 7, or I'm sorry, that's destroyer-esque armor, like a tier 7 destroyer would have about 30 millimeters. And we don't have the armor scheme, so, but at the weakest point, the armor is 1 millimeter, which, you know, the basic point is don't be planning on taking a lot of damage with this thing. This is not a frontline brawler. If you're switching off on grinding the German battleships and the French cruisers as I am doing, you don't want to mix the two up, at least not when you're in the French cruisers, because they're not built to take a lot of punishment. My general thoughts early on are pretty long range, kind of HE spamming ships, so keep that in mind when you're playing these things. Now we're on the map Ring here. We do have a capture the base mode game. I picked this match for a couple of reasons, as I'll point out throughout the match. I think it kind of highlights the ship's capabilities in terms of offensive and defensive capabilities, and there's kind of a word to the wise, or I don't know what we want to call it. There's a teachable moment at the end where I make a pretty massive mistake, and I picked this game partly to give me a chance to talk about that. So early on, we're just engaging the Königsberg, and this is basically what you want to be doing. I think probably throughout the line, but for sure, Tier 2, Tier 3 play quite a bit the same. I actually like the Tier 2 quite a bit for a Tier 2 cruiser. It seemed to perform pretty well, and I got a couple of high calibers just playing them, the 3-4 games, whatever it was to get through it. The ship's pretty decent for a Tier 3 cruiser as well. Kind of reminds me the most of the Phoenix out of the ships currently available. But kiting is kind of the name of the game in this thing. You want to kind of get into position where you can reach the enemy and then kind of turn around as I am here. That allows you to angle your armor, still get the guns on target, and you can see we have pretty decent firing angles. Now that Königsberg rammed into his ship, which kind of slowed him down. You notice I adjusted my aim there, and that allows us to put him in the ground. So that's something you want to take advantage of. I think he might have gotten behind that island had he not hit that other ship, but because I was paying attention, I was able to adjust the aim and take care of him. And now we got another Doogie on the other team here. You're going to see a lot of these French cruisers out here in the next couple weeks as people are lining up or leveling up their ships. I had an option of both of these. One of them was heavily angled. This other Doogie that popped up, not so much. Now, HE at long range is going to perform better than AP in general. I'm still kind of testing out the shells. The HE hits quite hard, in fact. I'm just looking at the stats. The damage on paper doesn't seem to be that impressive, but when you get it out on the high seas, it seems to be doing quite a bit of damage. So if you're, you could theoretically just completely play with HE the entire round. I'm sure you'd be doing pretty well with that setup. But in general, broadside cruisers, I'd still recommend pulling out the AP. You see we've been able to land a few citadels here and there. And especially the closer you get, when you get those firing arcs that are much more horizontal when they enter the ship as opposed to kind of 45-degree angles. That's where you can really rack up some damage here, but, both shells are, quite viable. Basically, I believe the French line is going to be, glass cannon type of ships where if you get shot, you're going to have a bad time, but if you don't get shot and you keep yourself into position to continuously do damage to the enemy team, that's how you're going to have success. Reload on the Doogie, it's abysmal. It's 11.6 on my build. The next closest one is the Dene at 7.5. The other ones are scattered throughout the 6-second range. So we're effectively talking about double the reload time. Traverse, when you're playing it, doesn't seem that bad, but it is the second worst at the tier, at least on my builds. So you got to factor in those gun characteristics, and both of them, again, favor playing more long range here. This is actually closer than you would probably want to be doing. Here, me and this other Doogie are kind of testing out the angles. You see there we auto-bounce those AP shells coming in. If you angle your armor well against cruisers, you'll be able to bounce them. I wouldn't... If you close in on a battleship with this thing, I think you're just asking to die. You know, you do not want to get close range to a battleship, period. It'll absolutely wreck you. The ship is not built to take shots, but against another Doogie, you know, I mean, the guns on the ship are 155 millimeters, which is actually the highest caliber at this tier for cruisers. So steeply angled like that, you can bounce AP. And if you're firing at these things and they're well angled, I would just shoot them with HE. That's probably your best bet. But again, Doogies do not close in to battleships. It's going to cause you a lot of problems. And you can see here, that's exactly what happened when we engaged in this ship. You know, we basically got into range where we could sight them and fire at them, and then we just turned around. And again, we're just going to kite away. Blast them with HE. We do have a little bit of support from our team, but, you know, regardless, I think this is kind of the name of the game. The Congo is going to have a hard time killing me as I'm performing this. If he's a really good shot, you know, he could potentially catch me, but the ship is fairly agile. I mean, it does have the worst turret, or the rudder shift, I guess, at the tier, but that's, again, at long range, that minimizes that impact. Kind of all the negatives of this ship are mitigated quite a bit at long range. So, you know, if you're looking at it at paper, if you take it out on the seas and try it out, you'll just notice playing at long range, you're going to have a lot more success. And because of that, this ship particularly, I believe the whole French cruiser line is going to favor people who are pretty comfortable with their aim. If you're a new player and you're trying to decide which cruiser line do you want to start off on, I don't think this is going to be the most beginner friendly because of certain, you know, the lack of the ability to take shots and the requirement to hit these long range shots to be effective. So if you're starting out on cruisers, probably start off with the IJN. The Japanese cruiser line would be the most beginner friendly in my opinion. You can also make a case for the American cruisers, but personally I would recommend the IJN. So obviously at this point in the match we're down to the last ship. Now I have an interesting choice to make. Do I push their base or do I defend our base? I cannot win with the caps. I mean, that's just not going to happen. But the decision is, are they going to my base or are they going to their base? And I chose to defend their base under the assumption that they were pushing our base. I wasn't paying attention to that Congo or Koenig, I can't remember which battleship it was, but I wasn't really paying attention to the map, so I'm not sure how long these guys have been undetected, but presumably they've had at least a little while to move from where they were last sighted. So in my mind, I figured at least one of them would be pushing the base just to try and assure the cap. You know, that's the smart play. You know, my maxim, assume your enemies are making good plays and assume your teammates are making bad plays, and that'll kind of give you the edge. But anyway, I'm pushing my base here. We did take a blind shot. The guy shot right as we were going undetected, so that was actually a nice shot. But we did know at least one of those ships was coming near, so I kind of drove towards the base, and then as I'm coming around the corner, you see I've already begun the turn. You don't want to be caught halfway through the turn in this. So we spotted the Königsberg, got a shot off. You see the damage on that HE round, but we're nicely angled on there. Now we did take a shot from the ship's left, the screen's right, and it appears to be the battleship that was briefly spotted in their base. That's a problem because I'm in a crossfire between these two. I can't really do anything about it though. Low tier battleships are not the most accurate, so I just have to take my chances and hope that he can't hit me from that range. but I'm essentially pointing my broadside at him, and of course I'm going to be detected as long as these two ships are alive. Here's the mistake. I damage con that fire. It was a calculated risk, but immediately I'm set on fire, and we have a steering gear knocked out. In general, you don't want to damage con a single fire, but I don't know. Looking back at the replay, it was clearly a mistake. But at the time, I was thinking I just need to kill this guy quickly if I can get into a kiting position again. You know, and in my mind, I was thinking I needed to take as little damage as possible. So I rolled the dice, hoping there wasn't going to be a fire. But we do get a fire, and the steering gear is the bigger problem. I mean, we're locked horizontal towards this guy, so if he can hit some citadel shots, I mean, I should be dead at this point if, you know, his shots were landing true. But, you know, we just soldier on here. We're just pumping him full of HE. Again, he's angled at the point where I wouldn't reliably trust AP to do much damage. If you raise it up and shot into the superstructure, you can get some damage. But the HE, as you notice, does quite a bit of damage on its own, and we're getting fires, so really good fire chance on this thing, 13%. It's higher than the IJNs. I mean, I guess it's lower than the German and American cruisers at this tier, but still juicy fire chance. So you'll notice, as you can see on the scoreboard, we got quite a bit of fires going here. Shoot AP here. That's kind of a Hail Mary shot. We need to citadel him. Unfortunately, it didn't go. I mean, we can get one more salve off. Barring, you know, a missed shot, we should be able to kill him there, but unfortunately he does kind of angle and turn away, which does end up being a missed shot. So I thought that was a pretty good look at the Doogie for you. I hope you did enjoy it. I'm pretty excited about the French cruiser line, just playing through the first 3 tiers. I want to know how you guys are doing. Let me know what tier you're on, how you're feeling about these ships. If you did like the video, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, you should consider subscribing. There's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time. And we'll see y'all later. Alright, peace.